delighted that Dr. Rod Westrop is able to give a presentation and join us and talk about opportunities, at least for the UK participants, to get grant income, but maybe you could also give us a bit of steer on any international grants and opportunities that he would be aware of. So thank you very much, Rod.
Thanks very much. So good afternoon, everybody. As I can say, that is true now for both sides. I'm going to go through the UKRI funding opportunities. Although I work for BBSRC, we are involved in much more cross-council work than we used to be under UKRI. So I want to give you a taster really today of what's on. So could I have the next slide, please? So we work with the government to invest around £7 billion a year of research and innovation by partnering with academia and industry to try and make the impossible possible. We have 9 research councils which cover both the academic sector and the industrial council. And what we're looking to do is to create knowledge with real world impact. So could I have the next slide, please? So BBSRC, the group that I work for, has 3 tiers, 3 themes that we work within under our forward look for UK bioscience. One is advancing the frontiers of bioscience discovery, tackling strategic challenges and building strong foundations. So if I could have next, just click. So I work for a strategy team called the Biosciences for Renewable Resources and Clean Growth, which basically covers all aspects of industrial biotechnology. My team look after industrial biotechnology and bioenergy in all of its various forms. And the way that we work is to try and develop strategies looking at what's happening in the landscape to look at what kind of areas we ought to be funding to try and develop solutions to real world issues for the future. Could I have the next slide, please? So the core to our work is really looking at renewable feedstocks, wastes and residues, and then using a bio-based process to produce sustainable products, materials, fine specialty chemicals, commodity chemicals, animal feeds, biofuels, or improve existing products, so biomaterials, agrochemicals, and biopharmaceuticals. Next slide, please. So it was launched in April 2018. UKRI is a non-departmental public body sponsored by the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. We like to say we're at arm's length, but more recently that arm's length has become quite short. We are also quite heavily involved with other UK government departments, particularly DEFRA and the Department for Transport. Each year when there's a spending review, we put in money based on our strategic direction, jointly with BEIS to Her Majesty's Treasury, and hopefully we get awarded all of those things. Our organisation brings together the 7 disciplinary research councils. Research England, which is a little bit separate, but which is responsible for supporting research and knowledge exchange at higher education institutes in the UK, and the UK's innovation agency, Innovate UK. What we try to do is to ensure a stream of funding across different technology readiness levels so that we can increase and improve the return on investment for the British taxpayer. There is a link there, which I'll post later, which takes you to the UKRI website, to the page where all of the following funding opportunities can be found. Next slide, please. So within BBSRC, we have a standard method of funding, which is the BBSRC responsive mode. You can apply for research grants at any time within any area that was within the remit of BBSRC. So this funds research, in our case, in plants, microbes, animals, tools and technology underpinning biological research, from molecules to cells, tissues, whole organisms, populations and landscapes. This grant, as I said, is always open. The next round of being checked will be the 20th of September, and you can apply for a maximum of around £2 million for that particular type of grant. Next slide, please. Whilst we recognise that 2 million sounds like a lot, it doesn't always go that far, and it's quite important that we can extend some of the projects to allow for a greater impact, maybe translation, to take place. So we have another series of grants called the Strategic Longer and Larger Grants, which you will, if you know UKRI, you will hear the term SLOLA. These have been running alongside our standard mode for some time. So this year, we have a total fund of around 16 million. And the closing date for this year's round is the 31st of August. So the minimum award we normally give is 2 million, and we usually like to award this for projects that are going to be around 4 to 5 years. Next slide, please. We also have currently a collaboration between scientists in the UK and those in Sao Paulo state through the funding agency FAPESP. These awards are to support future applications within our remit under UKRI and the Sao Paulo Research Foundation. These grants are really to help pump priming between UK scientists and Brazilian scientists, and we have other awards, as do other research councils. So these are always worth exploring. It's around 350,000. This is a continual thing which goes forward. We also have access to funding through UK science officers that are based in our embassies and consulates around the world that can also help to facilitate this. And we, particularly within BBSRC in my group, like to organise a number of workshops around the world to try and understand how best to work. We're currently working with Brazil on bagasse conversion to ethanol and other interests, depending on what our government do with ODA funding in the future and other international fundings. We have already been developing a project to look further into this kind of area with Brazil and Argentina and some Southeast Asian countries. Next slide, please. We also offer an international travel award scheme, again, which is not very much, the £3,000, but the idea behind this is to enable researchers to travel and to meet and to discuss potential for joint collaboration with other events. That's always open. There's no closing date. It's a question of applying for that with some key information about what the projected outcomes are hoped to be from that type of collaboration. You're going to have the next slide, please. We also operate across the UK a thing called an impact acceleration account. This is to help fund your organisation's research to have a bigger impact. So this can be used in the initial phase to look at innovation, translation, spin-outs, developing something within the organisation. So this runs across arts, humanities, social science, biology, engineering and physical sciences, medical research, and Science and Technology Facilities Council. Next slide, please. Our colleagues in Innovate UK, who are specifically set up to fund innovation within commercial companies, particularly SMEs, offer something similar to us in terms of ongoing awards called Smart Awards. They have a total fund of around 21 million, and these are given to companies to help them go to the next stage. That may be anything from producing prototypes to helping to set up some small pilot plants, or even to prepare themselves ready to make a pitch to an investor. The closing date for this year's is only a month away, the 25th of August, but these tend to come around every 6 months, so there'll be plenty of time to apply for that one. Have the next slide, please. Our colleagues we work with quite closely in the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council have a very large energy program which we work with. So they currently have a small grant coming out, Adventurous Energy Research for a Sustainable Net Zero. So this does need to be UK based and a researcher based in an eligible research institution. If you go onto the website, there are pages behind these which will take you to the details of who can apply. This is an outline stage, so the idea is this goes into a peer review panel. which is made up of experts outside of UKRI. And if you're successful, you'll be invited to go forward to be considered for a full award. Again, it's a small amount, really, pump priming 250k, but it's amazing what can be achieved with that level of money. Next slide, please. Oh, one, that's it. Yeah. So my group manage a group of networks in industrial biotechnology and bioenergy, and BBSRC is not under our remit to directly support industry, but we recognise the crucial importance of academic industrial interaction. We started 7 or 8 years ago now with 13 networks, and we do this jointly with our colleagues in EPSRC. That was incredibly successful in that we had over 900 SMEs, and we also in total had somewhere around 16,000 members, and depending on the network, between 30 and 40% of those members came from overseas, so outside of the UK. So these were set up to build capacity and capability in the UK to support research and translation in sustainable biologically based manufacturing. We wanted to foster collaboration between academic researchers and businesses at all levels. So we run from work with companies from the size of Unilever down to 1 or 2 people in a new university spin out. This is to drive new ideas. They are also were set up to develop communities of experts in particular areas. So they do this through membership, conferences, events. A number of them run a lot of online training. So we currently have invested 11 million with 6 networks in our phase 2. These are carbon recycling, which looks at waste gases being converted to a number of usable products. High value biorenewables, which basically looks at taking plant waste and turning that into high value chemicals. Biomass biorefinery network, which look at all aspects of biorefining, and Simon McQueen Mason, the PI, is particularly interested in sustainable aviation fuel and sustainable fashion. EBNet, which is our environmental biotechnology, looks at bioremediation and also anaerobic digestion and how that can be used for a whole range of issues. Elements of bioremediation, biomanufacturing, bioenergy basically looks at recovery of precious metals and their use as biocatalysts. And then we have Algal UK, which is a smaller network, which looks primarily at the use of micro and macro algae and blue-green algae for the production of biofuels, oils, that kind of thing. Each of these networks has flexible funding for proof of concept projects, and that ranges from 100,000 down to about 10k for business interaction vouchers. They also offer bursaries for secondments and summer projects. It's really good to do that. Membership of each of these is free. They have their own management boards and advisory panels. I would suggest, if you're interested, going onto the network and joining, because this is an area that you will find all of the relevant experts. So these have 400 or 500 members for each one. Next slide, please. And my final slide is to do a plug for the SuperGen Bioenergy Hub. The SuperGen Bioenergy Hub works with academia, industry, government and societal stakeholders to develop sustainable bioenergy systems that can support the UK's transition to an affordable, resilient, low carbon future. Headed up by Professor Patricia Thornley at EBRI in Birmingham. This has been an incredibly successful network and has a very long reach into the British government and to policymakers. They've just started an experiment with a policy fellow, which is funded jointly by the SuperGen Bioenergy Hub and 3 of our NIB networks. And this is to act as a go-between, I guess, putting it bluntly, between the British government, particularly BEIS and DEFRA DFT, and the academic community, so that we can get a better handle on what needs to be done. Within all things these days, the British government are very keen to see, well, what are we getting for our research buck when we're putting things in? And the days of just looking at how many papers you publish are disappearing fast, and it's now really how do we translate research into the real world, particularly within the net zero framework, but also in the sustainability network. So that is a very brief overview of the funding landscape. I would strongly advise you to go onto the website, because I've only given you a snapshot. We work all of the time in the strategy groups to look at what's next, and we tend to take a 5, 10 and 20-year time frame about where are we going to be in 20 years time, where do we need to be. So we do a lot of work with stakeholders to get the academic viewpoint, but also what are industry looking for and where can we join the two together. And so that is the conclusion of my talk. I'll be happy to take questions later on. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Rod. That's fantastic. I'll just move around with the agenda a little bit, I think, because we've been getting some questions coming into my WhatsApp. So what I'd propose is I'll now invite Marcelo Nicolas Camargo to speak about the Brazilian funding opportunities, and then immediately after bring you back just before Raphaela and Rebecca speak, if that's okay. So could I now invite Marcelo Nicolas Camargo to speak from Finep, and then I'll bring you both back for questions coming in. And could I ask Claudia to be on standby?
Thank you, Kate. First of all, I'd like to greet and salute to everybody from this very, very important seminar, and also Professor Ednildo that invited Finep to participate in this very important event. I would like also to talk that I'm not a specialist of biofuel. I'm superintendent of applied research and technological development area that is trying to integrate the basic research to apply the research and also to the micro enterprise. Then this very, very important thing. And then I will present in my presentation the main mission of Finepi and try to enhance the partnership with some very important actors. And then I would try to get the opportunity to participate in this event, trying to establish and try to open channel to discuss about the new agreements with the other actors, with the other institutions that could try to contact us to new programs. Okay, let's go. The next one. Okay, are you listening to me? Could you? Okay. As I told you, Finep is a state-owned company linked with the Ministry of Science and Technology, Innovation and Communication. We were created in the 60s. The main objective is try to focus and try to hold in chain of innovation and high impact for the sustainable development of Brazil. We are considering the Brazilian Innovation Agency, and we are working very hard in this area in the last 50 years. Sorry, go on. This slide shows that we are working together with the main, our two other ministries that are working together is the Education Ministry and Economy Ministry too. And the Science and Technology Ministry has also IMBQ and CNPq. We are working in the federal level and giving money. We can call us as a bank, right? But the funding agents that we have grants, we also have investments, and we also give loans and credits to the companies. And then it could sound strange to for high people, an agency like Finepi give credit, but unfortunately in Brazil, interest rate is so high, especially to innovation projects. In terms of regional level, we are working very hard with research foundations, and we can give an example as FAPESB from Bahia and from Rio de Janeiro and also from São Paulo and Minas Gerais. This is just a little examples of our main partners in this regional level work. Go on, please. In terms of TRL, we are working on the whole chain, right? And since the basic research, so the applied research and technological development until the prototyping and the system development. And this is very, very important because we cover all the deep valley, right? The depth valley, sorry. And working, trying to integrate the universities and institutions, scientific and technological institutions, to the enterprise too. Go on, please. As I told, thinking about Finepi as giving money, we have some grants, then research projects and scientific and technological infrastructure, very important projects that we are running in the last 20 years. Pre-incubation, incubation and startups, emerging companies, and also business competitiveness, giving opportunity to the whole chain of enterprise. Please go on. Go on, please. Yes, could you go? Are you listening to me? Okay. In terms of no, yes, you skipped a slide, please. Could you return one more? Could you return on more? I think that don't know if there's some trouble with it.
I believe there is a little bit of a lag. So can you say which slide it is?
Yes, this one. And this slide, I'm presenting our main programs, showing that we have very, very important programs since the startup and micro companies until big companies involving grants, investments, and credit. And especially because I'm responsible for the two very important programs that we are running with research foundations, I will focus on this and try to present that this is very important in terms of biofuel too. We received too many proposals of biofuel projects in these two programs that I will highlight in the further slides. But as I told you, we have very, very important programs to the whole chain, and especially to all levels of enterprise, and also with universities and scientific and technological institutions too. Could you go on? There is a delay, right? I don't know. It's possible to pass?
The present slide say support to public universities. Do you want this slide or a later one?
Yes, yes, this one. Just to point out that in the last 15 years, we gave $1.3 billion to the universities, federal universities and state universities. We are representing the Development Scientific and Technological National Fund. And then we are, this is a very, very important role in the innovation and scientific and technological aspect. Go on, please. In terms of, yes, this one. In terms of, as I told you, in terms of biofuel research and industry, you have hundreds of projects in the last 10, 20 years. And then I can highlight biodiesel sugarcane, the biodiesel derived from microalgae, oil and biorefinery, among many others, right? And then in the next two slides, I would just point out some very important projects that we are supporting, and then we finish the two related to biofuel. It's very, very short time to present so many things and go in details. And then this is my main purpose on this presentation is just highlight the importance of Finep to everybody, and then repeating that, trying to open this channel and these opportunities to other actors and institutions to look for us and try to contact us to try to implement and do agreements to new programs. Please go on. Then I will not read this presentation we are sending to everybody, but I would like to point out that the research, development, innovation technology for the production and use of microdiesel derived from microalgae oils that I told in the previous slide. The structure, a very, very important net that we call Cibratec Biofuel Network, expansion of supply capacity and scope of accreditation, technological service and biofuel. The network of biodiesel characterization and quality control laboratories, giving the infrastructure to the laboratories of the northeast region and to our service to reinforce the northwest region is very, very important because innovation especially is concentrated in south and the southwest of our country. The next one, please.
It's there.
Yeah. Okay. Then in this slide, I can point out the ethanol production from sugarcane biomass with on-site enzyme production and fermentation of C5 sugars, green propylene projects, and ethanol hybrid electric bus. And the ethanol production from sugarcane sugarcane biomass. I would like to mention that from this activity in this project, we establish an agreement with Germany, sorry, and then we are running a very important call with Germany oriented to biomass, and we received a lot of good projects, and then we are finished until end of September, concluding this call. And because of the success of this call, related with biomass, we also are intending to launch a new one to the 2023. We also discussing with the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation Ministry, our ministry, to probably launch 2 other new calls related of bioeconomy, and also with a biofuel inserted on this call too. The next one. This is our main part. Sorry, this is our main partner institutions: Embrapa, universities, Federal University of Bahia, Federal University of Paraná, Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and also University of Salvador University. This is just give examples of our main partners. The next one. This is that where we would like to my main message of my presentation is that Finepi is trying to enhance very hard the partnership, trying to get cooperation and try to establish this cooperation in domestic field and international field to ourselves. Knowledge and innovation increasingly interconnected between different actors. We must try to establish common interests in areas and common issues, especially to a continental country as we have in Brazil. We need to try to, especially because Finepi is not so big, and then we must increase the capillarity of our activities and our work. And also we know that we must try to look for global solutions, and global solutions require integration and synergy between very different actors, domestic and international actors too. The next one.
The main benefits.
I would like yes. Please jump this one. I think that everybody. I think that I gave the message. And then our main challenge nowadays, just to finish about this this point of my presentation in terms of the try to highlight the importance of partnership, is enhance the partnership, access to funding opportunities that we are looking for, that we are looking some partners that could probably with the Brazilian government put together money to increase the action of the programs in this area, especially in biofuel too, and trying to conversion process, try to get conversion process, establishing a benchmark with this very important partner that we are observing in this event. The next one. I'm finishing my presentation, quite finished my presentation, and then I would like to also has the opportunity, this is a very important opportunity to myself, to present the pipeline of Finepi to micro and little enterprises, especially to micro and little enterprise. We have a very important program called Centelha. Centelha is the translation to English is spark, is something that gives the ignition to something. And then in this program, everybody can present an idea, just an idea, innovation idea. This is an innovative entrepreneurship program. Then it's possible to, after 6 months, that this idea is being squeezed, and after the 6 months, then if the idea is very important and get value and has value, sorry, then in terms of innovation, then this idea must be transformed in an enterprise, in a micro enterprise, and get subvention and get grants from the Brazilian government. And I will show very, very fast the numbers of this program. We are running with this program with research foundations, and especially in Bahia with FAPESB. This is very, very important because we are calling everybody, the population, try to transform our country by innovation culture. And this gives you opportunity to people to be an entrepreneur too. The second program in this pipeline is a Tecnova. Tecnova then is a program that the company must be established and must be muscles to support innovation and projects with more aggressive way in terms of innovation. And the ticket of this project is also higher. And then these two initial programs that I'm talking, we are running with grants, we are running with subvention, what I would call in Brazil economic subvention. And after Finepi has the Finep startup. The Finepi startup is our program that we invest directly, exchanging money from equity. This is a possibility that the money to the Finep to invest directly in the enterprise after due diligence. And after the Finep startup, we have InnovaCred. InnovaCred is a credit line program that we are running also with a very important partners from the States, the Development Bank of the States. We have a lot of very, very important funding agencies, regional funding agencies that we are running together this program to give credit to the enterprise that had very difficult to get from commercial banks, and also the opportunity to invest in commercial and marketing expenses. The next one, please. This is that I've mentioned the main give an idea what the programs that we are running with the research foundations. The Centelha program, we received 15,500 submitted ideas. Around quite 40,000 entrepreneurs in teams, and 1,000 cities involved in submitted ideas. It's very, very important to ourselves, and then as we can see in the map, we are also have a concentration in the south and the southwest and the southwest. Sorry, but we are fortunately spread into the whole country this innovation culture. The next one, please. Yes, I think that it is possible to go to the other one, to jump. Yes, because then there is a summary about the main sectors, and then give you the idea that, for instance, in an entrance program, in an entrepreneurship program, we received 2,380 environment and bioeconomy ideas and projects. It's very, very important to ourselves, and represent that we are trying to get these innovators to this very, very important area in terms of bioeconomy and biofuel too. And finally, the last one that just to like to highlight, the next one slide, please. That we also run this program with research foundations, and also in Bahia is with FAPESB, and we what we call Tecnova that I've mentioned. Then we receive 572 companies in the first wave. Sorry, I forgot that in these two very, very important programs, we are in the second wave of the programs. We are running the second wave of the programs, and there is a possibility that the companies to present the projects in some states. In other, unfortunately, the submission process is finished. But we are thinking about the third wave of these programs, and then we gave around $35 billion, 170 million reais in the first wave. And we also received the 10% of bioeconomy and biofuel companies projects in this first wave of Programa Centelha. I think that it's enough. It's sorry that I'm not, as I told you, I'm not a specialist in terms of biofuel, But I think that my main message is trying to show Finepi and try to establish and open the channel to receive very important actors and very important institutions that are participating in this event, and then to talk about possibilities of agreements to programs and possible calls. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and sort of keeping to time. I don't know if Claudia wants to quickly join, because I'm moving things around a little bit. I'll just steal 10 minutes of the next session. Claudia, I don't know if you've received any questions on WhatsApp.
Yes, I have several questions here.
So maybe if we spend 10 minutes here, it will be easier than in the next section, because they are two separate activities. So if you're happy to continue now, Claudia.
Okay, fine. We've got one question here for both, for Dr. Rod Westrop and also Dr. Marcelo Camargo. How can UK and Brazil join efforts to offer opportunities for bilateral funding research on renewable LPG? Is it possible to create a science and technology fund based on a percent of the decarbonization credits to support a continuous flux of research and innovation projects?
The short answer is yes, it is. From the UK side, we would probably want to go through an initial meeting to try and get British scientists speaking with colleagues in Brazil to scope out what research would be covered. Then we would need to make applications within either my group or Innovate UK or within our international groups to look at setting up a bilateral agreement with Brazil, depending on who the funder is. But those kinds of things, yes, are doable.
Yes, from the Finep perspective, I totally agree with Professor Roderick. We are looking for, as I've mentioned in my presentation, I've participated to many meetings with the Newton Fund that is also running with England, and we are also thinking about, as I've mentioned too, that we are running a very important program with Germany that would like to also do the same thing within England, and then we are probably as a consequence and a result of this event is try to establish and try to schedule a meeting with my colleagues from England, try to begin this kind of initiative that is very, very important. I totally agree with the question, and I think that we are late in terms of trying to establish a program together within England in this area.
Thank you for your answers. I want to follow this a little further with Dr. Ross Westrup. Would BBSRC be interested in extending pump prime collaborations to other states of Brazil? Because you have talked about FAPESP in São Paulo.
Yes, we do have other collaborative agreements in place. If we don't have an agreement, we can get one put in place through our international teams. But yes, very much so. Take Marcelo's point, we were planning a very large Newton project with Brazil and Argentina, and indeed with India, looking at bagasse as a feedstock for a number of different sustainable products. Unfortunately, the British government cut ODA funding and overseas aid, so we have probably had to postpone that, but that's another example. But we would very much like to have agreements with other states within Brazil. It's very much on our radar.
Well, okay, very good news. Yeah, I received another question here for Dr. Marcelo Camargo. Although Brazil has a huge potential to become a leader in the mitigation of climate change, carbon capture, transition to net zero carbon society, circular economy, and of course, renewable LPG, we have been observing a brain drain of Brazilian researchers in the last years, which can be due to the reductions in the federal investments on research and innovation projects. In this context, how can Finep contribute to overcoming this situation we are facing now?
This is well, what can I say about this? This is a very, very important question and a comment too. And I agree totally that we are in the last years that we are suffering too much because our budget is being reduced very, very deeply. And but I've worked before IBM. Oh, sorry, I worked before Finepi. I worked in private companies 25 years, and then I'm working at Finepi in the last 13 years, right? And this scenario is in my opinion, since that I've entered in Finepi, this scenario, the last 2 years was very, very difficult scenario to our dealing with. But fortunately, we received a very, very good news about the national fund, National Scientific and Technological Fund. As I've mentioned, that we are the secretary to operate this fund in Brazil. We are responsible to operate this fund, and then we received that probably the budget of this will be, I don't know how can I say this in English, descontingenciado, the contingency. I don't know how to say this. I think that the contingencies, right? The contingency.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then we are preparing, and then we are also very, very happy to receive this news. And then because of this, I'm telling that we are preparing in advance the calls. We are in the pipeline a lot of calls, and as I have mentioned, another call with Germany in terms of biomass and in terms of bioeconomy. Another call was about bioeconomy in Amazon, in an Amazon way, in an Amazon bioma, and also to other call to other biomas in Brazil too. Because since the money really arrived to ourselves, we are preparing to use very, very fast. Then my message to the researchers that I think that probably this scenario will change. I am optimist. I must be optimist, right? Because I know that innovation to our country, especially innovation, right? Innovation to our country is a very, very important tool to fight against inequalities. Try to give opportunities, to give technology, science to the poor peoples that cannot get this. And then if you are not fighting very, very hard, try to spreading the innovation around the country. As I've mentioned, and because of this, I presented two main important programs that would like to increase the scale of our work in terms of innovation, in terms of project innovations, that Centilha program and Tecnova program. Probably we will fail, but I'm optimistic that probably the next years, with the contingency of the Scientific and Technological Fund, we can support the researchers in a very, very high context.
Those are fantastic words and rousing words to finish this particular session. I'd like to thank Roderick and Marcelo and Claudia. And I won't ask a question because it would be a 20-minute answer, but just make a comment in probably 2 words: Horizon Europe. So there's probably opportunities from the European Commission funding scheme. The UK, I believe, is eligible still.
We still are.
Yeah, I believe Brazil is eligible, and maybe there's opportunities there.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And of course, one of the reasons for coming together today was to encourage the researchers to, get to know each other, and also hopefully challenging the funding agencies with high quality proposals in this important area. So thank you very much. It now gives me great pleasure, and I do apologise for stealing a little bit of the next session, but we will get it back again, and introduce Raphaela Gomes, who's the CEO of Raízen Biogás, who will be speaking together with Rebecca Groen, the Sustainable Fuels Director. But I'm going to ask Raphaela if she'd like to give a quick presentation and introduce herself first. So hopefully you can see the presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you for the invitation. And it was very good to hear all of the presentations that came before me. Very interesting topics. I think everyone is really well aligned in this journey towards energy transition and decarbonization. And it is going to require all of these initiatives. So I'm glad to be here and glad to hear everything that was said before. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Raphaela Gomes. I am the CEO of our renewable natural gas business here at Raízen. And if we can just go to the next slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about our company just before I start my presentation. So Raízen is a Brazilian international company. We call ourselves a green champion because we have basically a big renewable footprint, mainly on the production of biofuels. Next slide, please. We are a joint venture between Shell and Cosan, and we provide energy solutions to all of our customers that go from renewable solutions to energy solutions through the distribution of fossil fuels. In Brazil and Argentina, we serve more than 6,000 customers in the fuel business in those two countries. And we also serve more than 4,000 customers in B2B, providing solutions that go from power, renewable power, diesel, fuel oil, and lubricants. So if we can pass to the next slide, please. So this is our renewable energy portfolio. So this is actually where we are based. As I mentioned, we are one of the world's largest biofuel producers, and we have an extensive platform in renewable carbon molecules. So we are the world's largest producer of first generation ethanol. We produce around 4 billion liters of ethanol each year. And we also have our second generation ethanol platform, where we have currently one of the only plants in the world operating at commercial scale, producing cellulosic ethanol using sugarcane bagasse. And we have just recently announced the next plant that is going to be double the capacity of the first one. And this is a huge step for advanced biofuels, especially cellulosic ethanol globally. We are very confident that the technology is working as we intended to. And after the construction of the second plant, we will have a total production of 100 million liters of cellulosic ethanol in the next couple of years. The idea here is that by using the sugarcane bagasse with the same land that is used to produce sugar and ethanol, we currently have 1.3 million hectares of land that is currently under our control. We could produce up to 50% more ethanol using the same land just by destinating this waste, the sugarcane bagasse, for the production of ethanol. Apart from that, we currently already use the bagasse to produce renewable electricity. We have 1.3 gigawatts of installed capacity. We have 35 mills that produce sugar and ethanol, and all of our mills are self-sufficient in terms of power and steam. But we also export electricity to the grid, around 3 terawatts per year. It would be sufficient to supply power to a city the size of Rio. So that is our power portfolio. We are currently also investing in solar plants. We have 200 megawatts of installed capacity in distributed generation projects, which are mini solar plants that produce energy to consumers in the regulated markets, and it decentralizes the production of energy. There's also biogas, which I'm going to get into it in a moment. We also produce pellets, which mainly are used to sugarcane bagasse pellets to replace coal in thermal power generators. We are currently exporting those pellets to Europe, mainly the UK and the Netherlands. And of course, all of these renewable carbon molecules can be used to the future of the energy transition products. So sustainable aviation fuels, production of green hydrogen, so ethanol, and also biomethane coming from the biogas are good sources to produce green hydrogen. We could produce ammonia for biobunkers and also bioplastics. So next slide, please. Going into our biogas platform, renewable natural gas platform, this is our first plant. We inaugurated it last year, and it has 21 megawatts of installed capacity. This plant, located in the state of São Paulo in Brazil, is actually one of the biggest biogas plants in the world. It produces biogas using sugarcane residue, basically vinasse and filter cake, just so that you have an idea of the size of the potential of the production using these residues from the production of the ethanol. Each liter of ethanol produces around 12 to 15 liters of vinasse. So that's actually, we produce more than 15 billion liters of vinasse each year on all of our operations. So the potential to use this residue to produce biogas and then turn biogas into electricity or biomethane is huge. So next slide, please. Here I bring you a little bit of the Brazilian context. Brazil has a huge potential for biogas production, one of the biggest in the world, certainly a lot bigger than the US. And the main source for that potential is sugarcane. As I mentioned, the vinasse used coming out of the process of the production of the ethanol it's a huge volume, and in theory, 40% of the potential to produce biomethane in Brazil comes from vinasse. Also, the end product is a drop-in renewable CH4 molecule that can replace natural gas, diesel, LPG, and even it can be used as a carbon source for the production of green hydrogen and ammonia and e-methanol through reforming. And that accounts for a big reduction in the carbon footprint of those products. So when we compare to the emissions of the biomethane with diesel and natural gas, we're talking of more than 90% reduction in CO2 emissions. So next slide, please. And here I just bring you a little bit of a view of the future. So these are the macro trends that we are seeing today in the Brazilian market. The first one is the new gas law. So the gas market in Brazil is deregulating, moving into a free market, which will allow consumers to have more flexibility and will be also an important platform for biomethane to join the energy matrix. We also have a Renewable program that was debated here in many other presentations, but Renova Bio program creates a platform for that obligates the fossil fuel distributors to offset their emissions by using these renewable certificates that are issued by biofuels producers. And renewable natural gas is one of the products that under this program are allowed to issue this carbon certificates for trading. So this is another very important avenue for biogas and renewable natural gas in Brazil. On the other hand, the power market here is also deregulating at a faster rate than the gas market. So it has been deregulating for quite some time now. And that allows the consumers to every time more be able to choose their own energy provider. And that also has been increasing significantly the entrance of renewables in our power matrix, intermittent renewables such as solar and wind. Brazil already has a very clean energy power matrix, so 80% of our power comes from renewable sources, mainly because we have a huge hydro footprint that accounts for 60% of the total energy power production in Brazil. And sugarcane biomass, or biomass in general, also accounts for 9% of the total energy produced in Brazil. So we do already have a very clean energy matrix, but it's even more accelerated due to the entry of the other renewables, such as solar and wind, that are accounting for more than 10% now of our total energy matrix. And finally, the reason, just can go back, the reason why we are doing this workshop and this seminar is how we're going to reach carbon neutrality in 2050. And my opinion is that there is, again, this was already said here, but I think it's also very important to say, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. There is no silver bullet. And definitely each country, each region, because even when we think about Brazil, Brazil is a continental country, a continental-sized country. So even in Brazil, there are going to be multiple solutions in our country. So we need definitely electrification is a trend. We have ethanol. I normally talk a little bit more about ethanol in my presentations, but I decided to focus on biomethane. But I think the ethanol program and the Brazilian experience were well covered here during the previous presentations. So Brazil already has a flex fleet. 70% of our fleet is flex. One thing I always say, my car is made in the UK and my car is flex. So it is not a technology that still needs to be developed, and using ethanol, at least for the light fleet, allows for a reduction of more than 80% emissions when we compare it to gasoline. So we have ethanol, we have biomethane that can come from the biogas production. We have, of course, lots of space to expand even further the production of solar energy and power energy, but we need to be very, I think we will need all of the things that, and all of the ingenuity of all of the countries to be able to reach that zero goal. So this was it. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Raphaela, for those inspiring words. Could I ask you to stay on, but with your microphone muted? And I'll invite Rebecca Groen, who is the director of the Sustainable Fuels team, to introduce herself. I think we've heard plenty about SH Energy today, but if you could say who you are, Rebecca, and then Claudia, I'm sure you've got plenty of questions until sort of 5:40 UK, 1:40 Brazil.
Great, thank you, Keith. Well, presuming you can hear me, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody on behalf of SHV Energy and actually the much wider LPG community, because as Bram said right at the very beginning of this seminar, this is an issue and a topic and an opportunity that's bigger than us as a company. No matter how responsible we feel, how much effort we put in, and you've heard a lot about it today in the research that we've co-sponsored and the innovation challenge that we've put out, and working together in collaborations with universities and companies around the world. We know we can't do it all, and I completely agree with Raphaela. There is no one silver bullet. So we've had 25 presenters today, all with a unique perspective, with a unique role to play in solving some of the most difficult defossilization challenges that we have globally. But today has given me huge confidence that we can, because there's enough ideas, there's enough will, there's enough money maybe also in different places of funding to make it happen. We just need to put ourselves together. But anyway, Keith asked me to introduce myself, which I haven't done. I've just gone on to my thanks because I was so excited to be finally getting a bit of airtime. My name is Rebecca Groen. I'm Director of Sustainable Fuels at SHV Energy and have been here for the last 3.5 years, leading our challenge really as an organisation to work out how we continue to innovate and give our customers around the world a solution that is safe, efficient, affordable, and increasingly lower and zero carbon. So thank you for the opportunity today. I look forward to this panel session as we wrap up quite an exciting and full seminar session.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Raphaela and Rebecca, for sharing your views and presenting yourselves here today. I'll start with one of the questions here at the how with CO2 fermentation process and our production. What is the potential to hydrogenate it to synthetic fuels?
I read the question, even though your voice break down a little bit, Claudia. So the question is, how do we deal with the CO2 generated from the fermentation process, and if there is potential to hydrogenate it into synthetic fuels? And the answer is, currently, the CO2 emitted in the fermentation just goes back to the atmosphere. It is, even though it's the CO2 produced by a renewable process, so it was already captured when the sugarcane grew, so we're not adding emissions. There is a lot of potential to capture it, not only to capture it to produce other fuels, but also to capture it to use it in the beverage industry. Brazil is short on CO2, and the CO2 currently used in the beverage industry is comes from a fossil source. So there is a lot of potential there. One of the main imperatives in the past was that we have harvests. That means that we don't produce ethanol all year round. So we produce it at a period during the year. And the CO2, in order to be economically viable, we needed to produce all year round. That changes with the second generation ethanol, because with the E2G, we do have 365 days of production, which grants us the opportunity to also make use of that and dislocate another fossil CO2 further down the line, or even turn it into different fuels. So we are definitely looking into that, and there is a huge opportunity there.
I think
you are on mute, Claudia.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. I hope it's better now, the connection. Rebecca, I've got a question for you. Europe has a strong commitment with tight targets towards energy transition with climate neutrality by 2050. Could you talk a little about economic viability of renewable LPG and what companies, policymakers, and eventually also consumers can do or have to do to allow renewable LPG to gain space in the market?
Yes, it's an excellent question. I actually really loved the picture that Sophia of Liquid Gas UK showed of Westminster, where I was very close to where I was born, and the countryside in the UK, and the fact that policy doesn't always reflect the reality of how we live and work and operate, even in a country like the UK, which is significantly smaller than the challenges that you have in Brazil, as Raphaela pointed out, in terms of scale and intricacies there. So there is definitely a need for constructive policy that supports all initiatives to get to what I think is the best target that anybody's ever put, which is one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals of clean and affordable energy for all. This should be really what we're all working towards. And where we look at the different needs, a temporary, decentral, off-grid, mobile, fully safe and efficient energy source, that there can never be one solution for that because the applications are too different, the locations are too different, the climate, the logistics, everything else. So we do need to have the right range of policies that support that. I think target setting, ambitions, and maybe even the sort of carrot, if you have the carrot and the stick, I mean the stick element, sorry, getting the wrong one, that, you know, the really, we have to do this by this time. We need that as well. We do need something to shake up the status quo. But it is very difficult to just motivate people by having that. You need to also show them the opportunity. You need to show the positives, give the advantage of how you can change in a really small way what you're doing, with maybe a small incremental cost increase or a small subsidy or incentive to support something. And that, I think, is how we need to get to the right mix of policy based on the local geographies, based on the feedstock availability. So you heard one of the other solutions that we're working on today when Kamal Kalsi presented Circular Fuels Limited, where we're deliberately looking at smaller scale facilities that are optimized around the realistic volume of municipal solid waste as a feedstock that would be available in various different markets. That's one way we think it's a really interesting use of a kind of circular mindset to say what's available, how can we put it to good use, what else would it be doing, i.e. if its alternative is worse, then we should be encouraged to do something, but we also need to look future-proofing, how can we make this as efficient as possible? And I think it links into Raphaela's point about capturing the carbon in the process. We will be doing that, we will want to do that, but let's not tie ourselves up in knots right now and make everything gold standard perfect, because we have a lot of work to do and we need to get there, and we need the time as an industry or as industries and as companies to get us there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so multiple solutions, and yeah. There's another question here now for Raphaela. Kind regard to Raphaela, who I had the opportunity to work with Shell in Raízen. My question is, could the current Brazilian infrastructure be an imperative to the decarbonization goal? What must we do now in terms of investments and regulations in order to achieve that goal?
Thank you, Felipe. Pleasure to see you here, not see you, but that is actually a very good question. I think that historically, Brazil has been lacking on investing in infrastructure. And one of the things that the new gas law will allow, at least for the gas part of it, is these new investments, we will see more investments in infrastructure, in gas infrastructure and transport, which are very, very needed. So I think that's there is a movement to create the correct legal framework under which those investments can occur. The same thing with when we think about rail transport and all of the other things, we are seeing some improvements, but we definitely need to move faster. Another thing that concerns me, and we are actively looking into, is if we want to create the industry that we're saying that Brazil can have, with all of that potential for all sorts of biomass that we discuss here, we need to have local suppliers. We need to be able to create and develop the industrial park that goes with that sort of infrastructure. So this is something that I am personally invested in doing, and I think it is important not only for decarbonization, but for the country. So this is my view on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I have another question for Rebecca. Considering renewable LPG will not prove economically feasible in a decade, is there any alternative to make it feasible from a carbon footprint offset strategy?
Yes, although I don't agree with the first half of the question. We still hold out for a techno-economic viable solution, and that's what we are working very hard towards, and challenging other people, and hope that we've also created some thoughts in all of the clever scientists' minds as we've had in this seminar this afternoon. So I'm still hopeful, optimistic, and there is every reason to believe that with the availability of resources, with looking locally, with looking at optimizing what's available, look at the impressive progress that Raphaela showed, we absolutely can. Additionally, the second half of the question, one of the reasons that we believe very strongly also in the potential of renewable DME as a product that is important to the LPG industry is because we also have ways to produce it today as the main product, also using wastes and residues that are typically at a much better price point than some of the more expensive vegetable oils that are used in the other process for, as we talked about, HVO and HEFA. So we're working on all of it, and we believe in all of it, and we think it all has a very important role to play. And that is really what we need to be doing to demonstrate the viability, to explore the new opportunities with the new feedstock and with new conversion technologies, and consider alternative products that can do the same thing: safe, efficient, transportable, logistically optimized products for all the different uses that we have around the world.
Okay, thank you very much for
You're on mute, Keith.
You'd think I'd be getting it. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Claudia, for chairing the session.
sharing your
And Raphaela for we seem to be having an issue. I don't know if it's me, but maybe I'll just quickly hand over to Julio Cardoso, the Chief Executive of Supergasbras, just to close what has been an excellent day. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I don't think that I will close this. I think this is the moment to maintain it open for all of us, to have the opportunity to continue changing and helping each other and collaborating to really to build this bridge. Congratulations for the presenters. We see, we listen today clear that we are doing concrete actions, and we are really moving from today to tomorrow. And we are really working in this energy transition, and we have a very nice future. You can see the potential and how many things we are doing. Supergasbras is working to supply 40 million Brazilians, 80,000 I&C customers, selling 1.5 million tons per year, taking care of these customers today with safety and a very high level service. On the other hand, we are working to replace firewood, to replace oil, and to help the environment. For the future, we are working together with Eenergy, together with you, most of you, to find and to identify a renewable, liquefied gas for the future, producing something new, clean, and identify the best way to fit the resource, the Brazilian resource, for this new product, and to fit the final product to the markets. Supergasbras is doing pilots. We work with you to identify how we can really build this future with a new energy solution. We really believe that Brazil is a potential in the 2 points. Resources are here, and we have a huge possibility to use that to produce renewable liquefied gas. And the market is a huge market that we can adapt this product and identify the best way to introduce to the markets with economic viability and really making Brazil again an innovative country looking for the best for the environment. I would like to congratulate all the presenters. I would like to thank the minister, energy minister, to be here presenting us, that the government is focused on that and will help and will work with us to this journey. I would like to thank the university, Aston University, Bahia University, Santa Catarina University, to be here to present what you are doing, and it's very clear the work that you are doing with a very nice knowledge. I would like to thank SHV Energy team that is really helping Brazil to develop this new way and to develop renewable solutions for us here. And I would like to congratulate everybody that organized this fantastic seminar, that we see concrete actions, that we see that we can work together. And all the people here, private companies, universities, government authorities, agencies, we can work together to build this bridge for the future. Congratulations. And I would like to give a special thanks to Cristina and Priscilla that organized this seminar in a fantastic way, very well organized, very well managed for you. Congratulations.